Many people have told us our entire lives that Jesus resurrected from the dead, and we believed them. But how do you know for sure that it actually happened? Because when it comes to the resurrection, there's no shortage of theories. Many have been around for over 2,000 years. People have claimed everything from grave robbery to the wrong tomb, hallucinations, impersonators, and even aliens. In today's episode of Be the 25, we're going to examine these claims one by one and put them to the test using real police investigative skills so that you can know for sure that Jesus really did rise from the dead and be ready to explain why. It all starts in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Be the 25 podcast, the place where teens and young adults come to explore how to live the Christian life in a non-Christian world. I'm your host, Dr. Sharon O'Hara. Come join us and get your faith ready for the journey ahead. Well, hello there, and welcome back to part 2 of our series on the death and resurrection of Jesus and how you can know for sure that it really happened. In our last episode, we tackled the theory that Jesus really didn't die on the cross. If you were with us, you saw how the evidence of his death from several eyewitness testimonies overwhelmingly pointed to one clear conclusion, that Jesus died on the cross. Now, if you missed part 1, I highly recommend going back and giving it a listen as it lays the foundation for what we are unpacking today. In this episode, we're asking the next big question. Since Jesus really died on the cross, then how do we explain the empty tomb? As a former police detective who worked hundreds of missing person cases, I know the importance of examining the facts to see if a story holds up. And that's what we're going to do today. Let's take a closer look at some of the most popular theories, one by one, and see how they hold up under real investigation. Like the theory that someone stole the body of Jesus. A rumor began to circulate claiming that someone stole the body. In fact, the religious leaders of that day anticipated such a theft happening, and they took steps to prevent it. Matthew 27 documents that the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate. "Sir," they said, "we remember that while he was still alive, that deceiver said, 'After 3 days, I will rise again.' So give the orders for the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise, his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people that he has been raised from the dead." Now, Jesus had predicted his own death and resurrection multiple times during his life in Matthew 16, Mark 8, Luke 9, and John 2 all write about it. So these predictions, actually prophecies, were common knowledge, and that's why the religious leaders took precautions to secure the tomb. Pilate answered, "Take a guard. Go make the tomb as secure as you know how." So they went and made the tomb secure by putting a seal on the stone and posting the guard. Now, the seal was a cord or string that stretched over the round stone that was blocking the entrance to the tomb. The ends of the cord were fastened at both ends to the rocky tomb with sealing clay. If this seal was broken, someone tampered with the tomb. This is how modern-day police departments handle evidence. I know this firsthand. After collecting an item, I would place it in an evidence bag and seal it with evidence tape. Then I would sign my name and badge number on the ends of the tape, securing the evidence. The purpose of this is simple. If the tape becomes broken where my signature and badge number are, you can immediately tell that someone has tampered with the evidence. If the seal on Jesus' tomb had been broken, it would have been an immediate red flag that someone had tampered with the tomb. So the tomb was sealed, and it was also guarded by soldiers to prevent any tampering. Now, on Easter morning, Matthew 28, 2-4 tells us there was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. Verses 11-15 also shows us how some of the guards responded. Some of the guards went into the city and reported to the chief priests everything that had happened. And when the chief priests had met with the elders and devised a plan, they gave the soldiers a large sum of money, telling them, "You are to say, his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. If this report gets to the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed, and this story has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day. See how they tried to shift attention from the fact of the resurrection to the fiction of a stolen body. And no matter how you look at it, the chief priests, the elders, the soldiers are still admitting that the body of Jesus is missing from the tomb. The soldiers knew the theft story wasn't true, and it wouldn't be too hard to prove this. As a detective, I would have done some serious questioning. I would first separate all the soldiers and question them individually. I would ask, "Can you tell me which guards fell asleep? Where exactly were they sleeping? Did you fall asleep? Did you hear anything like the moving of a round stone that weighs several tons? Did anything wake you up? Who first noticed the stone was rolled away? You say his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. But how do you know it was the disciples who stole the body if you and the rest of the soldiers were sleeping? Why haven't you made any attempts to arrest the disciples? And are you willing to take a polygraph to confirm your story?" Another thing I'd consider is the disciples' state of mind. They all scattered after Jesus was arrested. Only John showed up at the crucifixion. The rest were in hiding. Peter trembled at the voice of a girl and denied Jesus 3 times. Are we supposed to believe these fearful disciples collectively mustered enough courage to face trained Roman soldiers to steal the body of Jesus? One final point I'd like to make is that the inside of the tomb didn't show any sign of foul play. Listen to John's account in John 20, 1-8. Now, on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early, while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to him, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." So Peter went out with the other disciple, which happened to be John, and they were going toward the tomb. Both of them were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. And stopping to look in, he saw the linen clothes lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came, following him, and went into the tomb. He saw the linen clothes lying there, and the face cloth which had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen cloths, but folded up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple who had reached the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed. The linen clothes that wrapped Jesus' body were there. Do you know how long it would take to unwrap Jesus from those linen clothes that were weighed down by 75 pounds of spices? If the disciples stole the body, wouldn't it just be easier to take him as is and remove the linen clothes later, especially since there's a bunch of guards outside the tomb? And what about the face cloth? The disciple John testified that it was, quote, folded up in a place by itself, unquote. I can tell you as a former police detective that when people steal things in a burglary, They usually don't fold things up in a tidy manner. Actually, the opposite usually happens. The place is found in disarray because they're in a hurry to get in and get out. I think it's clear that no one stole the body of Jesus. Now, the next theory is that they went to the wrong tomb. Now, this theory is empty. First of all, Joseph of Arimathea knew where his own tomb was. Certainly, he or Nicodemus could have pointed out the right tomb and produced the body of Jesus. Secondly, some of the women knew where the tomb was. Luke 23 tells us the women who had come with Jesus from Galilee followed Joseph of Arimathea and saw the tomb and how his body was laid in it. Mark's account tells us in Mark 15, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where he was laid. Now we have the women's names. And Matthew 27 gives us the vantage point from which they saw this. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting there opposite the tomb. The women knew which tomb to go to, and if they needed a little help, all they had to do was look for a number of Roman soldiers guarding it. Now, Matthew 28 further clarifies the certainty of the right tomb. After the women arrived, an angel was there and said, "Do not be afraid, for I know you are looking for Jesus who is crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay." This shows not only did they know the right tomb, but they were given undeniable confirmation that Jesus was no longer there. And then something incredible happened. Matthew's account tells us, so the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid, yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshiped him. This incredible moment not only proves that they were at the right tomb, but also shows the game-changing reality that Jesus rose from the dead, just as he said he would do. Now, thirdly, we know it was the correct tomb because even the Roman soldiers reported it empty to the religious leaders. This theory fails because multiple people knew exactly where Jesus' body was laid, and if they had gone to the wrong tomb, it would have been easy to correct. The empty tomb was described the same way by everyone who saw it, which proves it was the right tomb, not just a mistake. Now, another theory is that people who saw the resurrected Jesus were just having hallucinations. According to a medical dictionary, hallucinations involve sensing things while awake that appear to be real, but instead have been created by the mind. Common hallucinations include hearing voices when no one has spoken, seeing patterns, lights, beings, or objects that aren't there. According to a medical website, a person who begins to hallucinate may become nervous, paranoid, frightened, and should not be left alone. A person who begins to hallucinate and is detached from reality should get checked by a healthcare professional right away. According to the website, sometimes people do have hallucinations when they're grieving, like briefly hearing or seeing someone who has passed away. So hallucinations can happen. I'm not denying that. But did everyone who saw Jesus after he came back to life experience hallucinations? And here's the kicker. What are the chances that they hallucinated the same exact thing? Several people saw Jesus alive after he died, and I'm giving a list of them from Scripture for you, and you can check out these references for yourself in the show notes. Mary Magdalene at the tomb. Women on the road heading to the disciples from the tomb. Peter later in the day. 2 believers on the road to Emmaus. 10 of the 11 disciples. Then 11 disciples 8 days later. 7 disciples at the Sea of Tiberias in Galilee. To more than 500 disciples. Then James, the half-brother of Jesus, the apostles when he ascended into heaven, and then the apostle Paul on the road to Damascus. What are the chances that all these people hallucinated? What are the odds that over 500 people would have a hallucination of Jesus in the exact same way at the exact same time? Pretty much impossible. Now, the next theory is that Jesus had a twin brother. Jesus somehow coerced his twin to spend his entire life in hiding until it was time for Jesus to die on the cross. Now, the Bible does mention that Jesus had brothers and sisters. Matthew 13 records his brothers by name. There's James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. And Matthew also mentions that Jesus had sisters, but we don't know their names. But here's the thing. There's no mention of a twin. Now, many scholars believe that Luke got his information about the birth of Jesus directly from Mary. And there's no mention of two babies in a manger. Don't you think that would have been a pretty big detail to include in the gospel accounts if it were true? This theory also suggests that Mary, the mother of Jesus, who was documented at the foot of the cross, couldn't tell the difference between her twin sons. And even if we accept this theory, it still doesn't explain the reason why the tomb was empty. Now, the last theory is this, that Jesus was taken by aliens. This theory suggests that Jesus was really an alien from another planet. It claims Jesus was so advanced in his knowledge of medicine and science, and because he had psychic abilities, he healed himself while in the tomb. He exited the tomb, located the disciples telepathically, and then transported himself to where they were located. Now, there is a problem with this theory. Instead of weighing all the evidence and coming to a particular conclusion, supporters of this view go backwards. They first start with their conclusion and then try to make the facts fit in. That's what we call bad investigative work. Good investigative work requires that you follow the facts and allow them to lead you to a conclusion. There is absolutely no historical, physical, or scientific evidence that supports the idea that Jesus was an alien. Now, none of these theories can stand up against the eyewitness accounts of the gospel writers. Many attempts have been made to explain away the truth, but the facts remain undeniable. The same message from different people about Jesus dying, the empty tomb, the missing body of Jesus, and multiple sightings of the risen Jesus all point to one truth. Jesus truly rose from the dead. And Jesus' predictions of his death and resurrection all came true, proving Jesus is who he said he is, the Messiah, the Son of God, the Savior of the world. So why is this so important to you? Because the resurrection isn't just a matter of belief. It is also a matter of fact supported by strong evidence. You don't have to believe it just because others do, or because someone told you to. You can believe it because you know the truth. You have all the evidence you need to stand firm in your faith. And here's the good part. You can now explain why you believe it. When someone asks you about the resurrection or doubts its truth, you have the facts to share based on everything we uncovered. So, stand strong in your faith, share the truth with confidence, and remember, the facts are on your side. Well, that's a wrap for today. Be sure to check out all our previous episodes on BeThe25.com or your favorite podcast platform. Just hit that subscribe button. And be sure to check out our helpful blog and resource pages on the website too. Stay tuned for more stories and discussions that inspire and encourage you in the faith. Have an awesome week, everyone. I'll see you next time.